Hello, my name is Eric Emerson. I want to speak on my experiences regarding the Lord. Um, it's been over 12 years, and I haven't shared this with many people, but I think it's time. I'm just feeling that it's pretty significant to share. I have had a direct experience with God Himself. I know in this day and age, there's a lot of people that claim that they try to sell books, they have some revelation of heaven, claim to see Jesus, a near-death experience, things of that nature. Then, of course, then there's those that just say outright that there is no God and that's old mythology, and we're in modern times, scientific understanding. I want to give my experience. It happened 12 years ago. Um, I didn't time stamp it really, but I think it was November of 2013, and I have reasons for saying that. But the event was so overwhelming that became my focus. I did not focus on what time of my life exactly it was. Um, in that year, 2013, I had sought the Lord. I was burning with the desire to know the truth. Was God real? I was studying creation versus evolution. I'd been studying that for months, and by studying, I mean like listening to debates. I had some college education. I liked biology, chemistry, physics, some exposure to the sciences. But oh, there's the dog. But I didn't have all the answers, and I was listening to these debates on the topic of creation versus evolution. And after months of listening to this, I just came to the end of myself where I couldn't learn the truth. I didn't know the truth, and it just burned within me. I remember a specific day being frustrated, wanting to know the truth. Is there a creator? Because design seems so evident, but yet atheism and evolution has such an argument, and there are so many intelligent people far smarter than me that push this or say this. So I'm like, where's the truth? And like I said, there was just a day I was very frustrated with it. That night, I claimed that I had a dream where God Himself showed up to me. And I'm going to share that testimony in this video. It's a detailed dream, at least as many details as I can recall. So, in the dream, it starts where I have an aerial view of a house, and it's a house I don't recognize. I'm looking at it, I don't recognize it, but consciously I'm thinking it's my house. And inside the house, my wife is sleeping. Well, I was just recently married to my wife Katie. We were married October 28th of 2013. And I'm having this dream, like I said, aerial view of the house. Inside the house, my wife is sleeping, and it's my house, but I do not recognize this house. As I'm seeing it and thinking this, my view of the house keeps moving towards the backyard, where I see a large lake and a wooden dock running out over into the water. I see myself standing on this dock. As soon as I see myself on the dock, I no longer have the aerial view. I'm now in my body, standing on the dock, and I'm staring out at the lake, over the lake at the horizon. And I can see the horizon, it's just sky and water meeting, large lake. No trees, just nothing, no physical objects, just lake and sky. And out in the distance is a large storm. And the storm is moving towards me, and it's a dark storm. As it's moving towards me and I'm watching it, there are bolts of lightning coming from the storm. And the lightning is purple, like a very bright purple. And it's radiating out from the storm, coming overhead up in the sky. And I'm looking up at it, just observing this. And yet the storm just keeps moving closer. I end up feeling a sensation in my chest. Like I felt a force. I'm going to say it's a force, not a presence. That's what I felt. And it shook me. It was very powerful. And what was interesting was my response. I took a defensive posture, balled up my fist. I'm standing, I get in a guard stance, and I'm making an angry, intimidating looking face, right? Like I'm actually ready to fight. Very interesting response to a storm. Well, once I make this defensive posture, I can actually see myself like I'm outside of my body and I'm looking back at myself. And I can see this defensive posture and this angry face. And then I'm back inside my body. It was quick. I felt the force. I almost said presence. I felt the force. It was overwhelming. It scared me. Took the defensive posture. Once I did, I was outside my body, looking back at myself. And after observing myself, was back in my body, staring at the storm. Really weird. And the storm keeps coming, and I'm scared, but yet making this defensive reaction. And in my fear, I pray to God. And I said, either Lord save me or Lord help me. Something to that effect. I don't recall exactly what I said. But I did pray to God for help. Once I prayed, instantly I was off the dock and I was back in the house. Like I said, instantly. And I'm in the house and I'm in a bedroom. And I'm staring at my wife, Katie, who's sleeping on the bed, which matches the beginning of the dream where I had this aerial view of the house and consciously thought, okay, my wife's inside sleeping. Well, now I'm in the house seeing her sleeping. And I'm just calmly looking at her. I'm not scared. I'm not thinking about the storm I just saw, the fear I just felt. How did I get in the house so quick? None of that is on my mind. I'm just in the house after praying and I'm observing her. And as I'm looking at her, I look up from her. And I could see, like, I was through some pretty good sized windows out towards the lake where I was just at. And what I see are large waves of water that are coming towards the house, probably an effect from the storm. So I panic. Excuse me. So I panic because obviously not good, right? In that panic, I yell at my wife to wake up. I just scream the words, "Wake up!" And she shot up in bed, sitting up, and instantly, again, instantly, we're in another part of the house. It's not that I saw her get out of the bed, I grab her hand and turn and run. There's none of that. It's just she shoots up in bed, eyes awake, and boom, we're in another part of the house, as if we tried to run. Well, we did not make it. As we're in the other part of the house, the waves of water are inside the house, and they're washing over us. One wave after another is just washing over me and my wife. Well, our backs are turned to the waves as they're coming in and hitting us. She's standing off to my left. The waves are not doing anything physically to us. They're not moving us around, like waves would. If you've been to a large lake or the ocean and you get hit by waves of water, they're going to ragdoll you a little bit. And these were huge waves, and they're coming over us just repeatedly. And as I'm staring at her, she's smiling, very big, beautiful smile, looking back at me. And I'm kind of calm at this point, just letting this happen. But then consciously, I'm thinking about what this really should be doing to us is tossing us around, right? So I become afraid again for the second time. And in that fear, I prayed again for God to help us, save us, or I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but I did pray for God to help us. This is where it gets really wild. After I said that prayer, now I'm facing the waves, the next wave that's coming towards us. My back's no longer turned. I'm facing the wave. The next wave that's coming, this is right after that prayer, the wave stops. And it just sits there for a few seconds. It doesn't recede and go away. It just stops and it holds its form as a wave. And I'm staring at it. Then the wave moves vertically into a tornado of water. Again, we're inside the house when this is happening, but this horizontal wave of water stops, moves vertically into a tornado of water, large, to the sky. It's like all of a sudden we're not inside the house. It's not like I saw anything happen to the house, like it dissolved or we were transported outside, anything weird like that. It's just, whew, this is massive. So, really weird stuff. And I'm just staring at it because I don't know what to think. I'm just in awe of what's happening. As I'm looking at it, the tornado of water, I see it turn to fire, a very bright fire. I could still picture this in my head, and it's just awe inspiring. This tornado of water, that was just a wave of water, now turns to fire. So I'm basically staring at a tornado of fire out of nowhere. Suddenly, I start feeling an immense pressure all around my body. I can just feel pressure. And then my ears begin to hurt. And my response to this is I start to turn my back, cover my ears, and then lie face down on the ground. One smooth motion. Turn my back, cover my ears because they're hurting, and I lay on the ground. As I'm doing that, I felt a weird sensation go over my mind. Like I'm mimicking this sweeping motion because that's how it felt. A sensation over my mind. I want to kind of call it like some sort of covering or a veil at this point, but I can just tell you it was a weird sensation over my mind. So I'm laying on the ground, I'm covering my ears, and I am trembling because I'm afraid now. Consciously, I am aware that that pressure and everything I felt was just that I heard a loud sound. But I didn't just hear a sound, I heard a voice, and the voice came from the fire. I'm just consciously aware of this. I heard a sound, but it was a voice, and it was a voice from that fire tornado. And the voice asked me a question. I don't know what the question was. I do not know what the words were. And this has frustrated me for over 12 years. But I am consciously aware of this. Well, I guess what I want to say next is I didn't want to answer. I was afraid of what was going on, and I did not want to answer this voice from the fire. I was too afraid, but I was more afraid of not answering the question. So in my fear, I speak up and I say, "Who am I to even speak to you?" And it was not easy to say those words. I was very afraid and very unworthy. But that's what I said in response to this voice. Who am I to even speak to you? And then there's a thunder response, but I don't know what was said. But then I am aware of a back and forth conversation that I am having while laying on the ground with this tornado of fire. And I don't know what's said. None of the words. Just am consciously aware that I heard a voice, asked me a question, I responded with, "Who am I to speak to you?" And then I see a back and forth conversation with me and a tornado of fire. This is remarkable. Then the voice responds one more time, or thunders in speech, and says, "Why do you not respect your husband?" Those were the words that were spoken, that I do know. And obviously, this question is not for me because I am the husband. I don't have a husband. And I realize, oh my God, my wife is still here. I had totally forgotten that my wife was there. Ever since this wave of water turned to a tornado of fire, I forgot she was with me. My attention was completely captivated by what was going on and obviously this conversation. But he said, "Why do you not respect your husband?" So I stay silent because the question is not for me. But then there's no response from her. There is just silence. And I grew even more afraid because of the silence. Like you cannot remain silent. It's just rude, disrespectful. But beyond that, like it's just not okay. That's the sense that I had. So I was terrified of the silence. So I slightly lift my head from my hands and I said, "Answer him, woman. It's the Lord." And then I woke up. The dream was over, and I woke up, middle of the night, lying face down in my bedroom, It's pitch black. She's asleep. I'm still shaking, but I'm also extremely confused at what just happened. Never had a dream like this in my life. And I was just baffled at what just transpired. It took me a minute to get the courage to even turn around, because in the dream, when I'm encountering this tornado of fire and having this dialogue and this great, terrifying experience, I'm laying on the ground and my back is turned. Because remember, I turned my back to this tornado of fire and laid on the ground. So he was behind me. So in my bedroom, now that I'm awake, it took a minute to turn around and look, but I was afraid that he would still be behind me. Nothing behind me. Pitch black, dark room, quiet, safe. Confused. Very confused. Very confused. I was afraid. That was a terrifying, terrifying experience. When I was dealing with this and having this encounter in this dream, hearing this voice speak from this tornado of fire, it was so intense that it felt like my soul was going to be destroyed. Not just the pressure around my body, like I earlier described, but it felt like the very essence of who I am was on the line when this voice spoke. I was terrified. I was shaking. I felt like I could be destroyed and tormented. That's why I was so afraid when there was silence from Katie. And when I was asked a question, I was afraid of not answering because I did not want to anger whoever this was, because it was so overwhelming and terrifying and painful to me. It was an insane experience. And I had never heard anything about this kind of God or anything like that. But in the dream, I said, it's the Lord. So when I wake up, I'm confused. And I say, did I just hear the voice of God? No way. No way. But what was that? When I took to the internet, because I was confused, and I go to Google search and I'm typing in, like, I heard the voice of God, and I'm reading the search results. In those search results, I'm seeing all kinds of things like I heard the voice of God and it was a gentle whisper of love, and nope, nope, nope. Well, then I come across a link that had a description below it regarding the voice of God in response to my internet search here. And in that description, it was citing the Bible. And it said, heard his voice from the midst of the fire. Ah, yes, 100%. What is that? Click it. And like I said, it's citing the Bible. And I was not educated on this at the time. So I look into the Bible where this is being quoted from: Exodus 19, Exodus 20, Deuteronomy chapter 5. Turns out that God descended on Mount Sinai after liberating the children of Israel from Egypt, the famous Exodus story. But this part I did not know. I knew about the Ten Commandments, but I did not know that the Bible said that God descended on Mount Sinai in fire, where there was dark storms, raging tempests, lightnings, thunders, fire, smoke, the mountains blazing, and the children of Israel were terrified. Moses is trembling, and it said God spoke from the midst of the fire with a great voice, and he spoke the Ten Commandments. That's what happened there. And after he got done speaking those, recount this in Deuteronomy chapter 5. The children of Israel were terrified, and this is over 600,000 people according to the Bible. They were terrified, and they were begging Moses to speak to God for them, because if they keep hearing God's voice themselves, they're going to die. Who is there of all flesh that has heard the voice of the living God speak from the midst of the fire as we have, and yet live? After reading that, after having this dream and this terrifying experience, I mean, obviously that resonated so heavily with me that I did not know about this consciously. Did I have an experience with God? I definitively want to say yes, 100%. That was God revealing himself to me directly. And it's been a journey since then, and a relationship. God has spoken to me in other ways. I got a larger testimony to share, but that was ground zero, where God himself showed up to me. That is my dream, where God himself showed up to me. And it was in pursuit of knowing if there was a God. I was very hungry for the truth. and the truth found me. Fascinating. I just had to share this. I'm gonna post this. Obviously, that's what I'm making the video for. Feel free to comment, reach out to me. I know there's going to be skepticism, questions, all kinds of things. I have not shared this heavily. I've shared this with those closest to me, and I've had people doubt me. I've had people believe me. I've had people tell me not to share it because it was a personal thing. God doesn't want me to share it. I don't know what God exactly wants me to do with this, but here's what I think I am supposed to do: share the gospel. Having been in the presence of the living God in this manner and hearing that voice and feeling like my soul was going to be destroyed, I understand that there is a wrath of God to avoid. It was terrifying, and the only way to reconcile with that voice and that terror and that holiness is through Christ, the gospel of Jesus Christ, to give us peace with God by faith in Christ so that we are saved from his wrath. That's what I believe. That is what I experienced, and that's what I got. This is a raw video. I'm not a content creator. I'm not editing anything. I am just speaking from my testimony from over 12 years ago in the basement of my house while my family is sleeping. And if it be true, if it's truly from God, then let the fruits of that happen.